So I am going to call to order the regular session of our school committee meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. Those attending tonight's meeting should be aware that the meeting is being audio and video recorded by APAC and ASRSD. Any audience member who wishes to record any part of the meeting must inform the chair, who will announce the recording. This is to comply with the Mass Wiretap statute. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. So it's 6:35, and I will call us to order. And if everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Michelle, will you call the roll for us, please?
Mrs. Granger.
Here.
Mr. Quincy.
Here.
Mrs. Reason.
Here.
Mr. Ruprecht.
Here.
Mrs. Simmons.
Here.
Ms. Span.
Okay. So we're going to move on to our student representative, Miss Alicia Town. How's it going, Alicia?
Good. How are you? How's everyone today?
Good.
Good. Only a few things today, but some sad news about sports. We unfortunately can't have any more outside guests at games besides parents and siblings, immediate household members, which stinks. But I think it's a good decision, especially now. So hopefully, with the upcoming weeks, see how it goes. But other than that, Mr. Christie and I actually have a proposal that we're bringing to you guys about senior privileges. Mr. Christie discussed and met with some of the senior class student council members to discuss more opportunities for seniors having senior privileges. And we wrote a proposal that we're bringing here. So, Mr. Christie?
Sure. Thanks, Alicia. So probably about 3 weeks to a month ago, I met with the senior leadership at school. Had a really wonderful discussion with them about how the year hasn't gone the way they thought it would. The year really hasn't gone, I think, the way any of us hoped it would. And one of the things they asked was, as we're now about to be second-term seniors in high school, is there any way we could look at having more responsibility within the school? I said, great, thank you. Really wonderful suggestion. So I walked away, I thought about it for a while. And what I came up with is what's in front of you. It's a senior privileges proposal. For anyone who doesn't have it, you actually have some extra copies as well. This is something that we've worked on both through building leadership team, which is all of the all of the curriculum leaders for each of the subjects. We've also taken this directly to the faculty to have their input as well. And pretty much near unanimously, this is something that people were really excited about. This gives folks the opportunity, seniors the opportunity, to leave campus with the permission of their parents during lunch in either Panther block or advisory period. So it gives them roughly an hour. I think it's an hour and 2 minutes. Every day where they can leave campus. If they wish to get lunch out in the community, great. If they wish to go home, great. We found that there were a number of students already that are leaving school to hit Wendy's or McDonald's through the use of ancient majority forms. So this gives permission for students like Alicia and others who have been doing wonderful things all along to be able to experience that. So there are conditions for students to be able to meet this. Seniors have to be passing all their courses. They have to be showing up to school on time and having basically no major disciplinary consequences in order to earn these. And should they fall into any of these categories, the senior privilege would be revoked. But it's something that our seniors are really excited about. They would be piloting this for us. And we're thrilled to get to work with such a wonderful group of young people. Thank you.
All right. So I would like to open it up for discussion. Alicia, did you have anything you wanted to add before
No,
the
not
big
unless-
deliberation?
Not unless anyone has questions.
All right, does anyone have any questions on the board or any comments? I will say that it might help my tardy girl get to school on time. Anyway, anybody?
Did you say, oh, sorry. Did you say that kids that are 18 already have that privilege?
They do. So students who have the age of majority form,
Yeah.
what it is, it's a form that they sign with their parent that allows them to sign in and out of school of their own volition.
Gotcha.
So we do have some students that are taking advantage of that
Right.
by choosing to leave. They can sign themselves out. I really think it's helpful for something like a doctor's visit. You know, where instead of bringing in a note from your family that allows you to leave, this allows you to sign yourself out. Some students, I think, push the limit on that and
Yeah.
are looking to sign themselves out of lunch. And so we do have a number of students that go to Wendy's every day. I'll be honest, I find Wendy's kind of gross. And I think our school lunches are better, but everyone's welcome to their opinion.
So no one's going to bring me back Wednesdays.
So the funny part in here is that's actually a violation of the student privilege contract,
Oh,
is that no student can bring back food for any other student.
oh.
Interesting.
Now, why is that? Just out of curiosity.
Sure. What we would hate to see is, say, Alicia taking an order for 30 students, coming in, bringing it back for all her friends, and thereby ruining what the wonderful lunches that our school cafeteria workers have set up. I think they do a phenomenal job. And what we're hoping to not do is to disrupt the already wonderful flow they have with all the students they currently serve.
Sure.
To add to that, this might be an unintended positive consequence, but food allergies are always a big concern. And I don't know if I would really put trust in a 30 order, at Wendy's
Yeah.
or any other establishment and have that
We would hope
to make sure
someone
that's taken right.
17 knows his food allergies, however, but that's beside the point.
You would. There's
And
a lot of
Alicia's not
things we
gonna-
would hope
This
of
is about them taking responsibility for themselves.
There's a lot of things we
Yes.
hope 17-year-olds do that we don't always trust that they do.
And I think Ms. Capasso could tell you she would not want her room being disrupted with the unwrapping of 30 Wendy's hamburger wrappers or Coke bottles laying around.
Well, if they stopped at Dunkin's and came back with the coffee, they would live that slot.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a barter system. I personally have no problem with it. I think it's fantastic. I'd like to see our students have some flexibility, especially given the year that they've had. And, if this is a small thing, I think, that we can do, they're going to have parent permission. So it's not like anyone can just do it. And if they're 18, they can do it anyway with parent permission, signing that form. So I personally think it's a good thing. So anybody else that wants
Yeah,
to?
in the name of equity, it makes sense. I work at a high school that has an open campus, so kids come and go, and when you actually, attach it as a privilege that you earn, I think that's motivating. Maybe that'll help with your daughter. And we are saying in a few months that these young people are adults and have to take responsibility, and it makes sense to do it in a place that's safer, so that if they make mistakes with it, that it's an easier mistake to overcome. It can get out of hand. I'm in a much larger high school, so that's just something to keep in mind for the admin and teachers that are going to have to monitor that. But I'm all for it.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry, Joyce, I'm going to
ahead.
ask one more
No,
question and
no,
then
that's fine.
I'll defer to you. So
No, fine.
is this something that the student, parent, and is going to sign, both student and
Yes.
parent?
So what I attached to us is the final page, and I'll be honest, I stole the language from about a dozen other schools that have previously implemented senior privileges. So that would have space on there where both the senior and their parent or guardian would need to fill it out.
Yeah.
And if they lose the privilege, is it for a certain period of time, or is it the rest of the year?
I think it's going to depend on the severity of
Okay.
why they lost it. I think there are some reasons why it could be for the rest of the year.
Right,
I think for the most of them, we'd use this as a teaching tool.
right.
Right, because what we want is we want our students being able to graduate from here, having had some experience with dealing with the need for time management, self-management. After all, that's now one of our vision of a graduate transferable skills. And this is a wonderful way for us to implement it with students and to, as you said, kind of set up that safe learning environment where they could get a chance, and if it doesn't go so well the first time, give them another chance before they graduate.
Joyce, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So, signing in and signing out, would they, like, I would think there might be a problem with cafeteria, with the amount of food prepared. So is there, and I'm just thinking of, if the cafeteria has an idea at 8 o'clock in the morning that 100 seniors are not going to be there for lunch, would that be a help for the cafeteria?
It's a great question. So one of the things that we would do is, for students that are eligible for senior privilege, it would already be tied into a prearranged list. So we would know the students that, for the most part, are
So you'd
going to
have
be
an idea of
there.
the number before you start?
Right.
Okay.
So we have a set number of seniors. Let's say we have 50 seniors that qualify for this, and immediately day one can take it. I pretty much guarantee you on day one, we'll be 50 for 50 for students wishing to leave the building. Alicia actually brought up a really good point, which is there are Panther blocks here at the school that are designed to help students with something like the AP Lit exam. I know that Alicia will be taking advantage of still showing up to that Panther block every once in a while for lessons which she needs. On days like that, we might only have 45 of the 50 students leaving the building. But it still gives us a relatively good idea of how many students will be here and how many students will be leaving for lunch, so we can give relatively accurate counts to our cafeteria staff to help them prepare.
That's also assuming that those seniors are even buying lunch. I mean, there are plenty of seniors that are bringing their own lunch that aren't using the, I mean, I'm not,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that, it's not like 60 seniors will now not be buying lunch. Go
And
ahead,
one
Joyce.
of the nice things about doing it this year is we're still in a year where school lunches are free.
Right.
So it gives us a bit of a wiggle room where we can experiment with this without this incurring a major cost to either the student or the district.
So is McDonald's open again down on the circle?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did they just reopen? Yeah.
Ice
Because the
cream
line
machine.
at Wendy's at noon goes down to Fort Devens. And if you think they can be back in that time and have picked up food, you may need to warn somebody, but if McDonald's is open now, maybe it's changed. Did they just open this week?
2 lanes, there's 2 lanes now. In and out of McDonald's now.
Yeah, but when McDonald's is closed, Wednesdays went forever. I'd like, I'll get a cup of coffee. No, I'm not. So,
They're
And I
gonna be
think-
in cars with their friends. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
it's gonna be 60 individual cars showing
no,
up
but I
at
mean, just
McDonald's.
them serving. I'm not thinking about them showing up. I'm thinking about, here's a staff and they go, whoa.
The
One
terror.
I'm
of
thinking
the
the other
things
side.
is, with McDonald's is you can order ahead on an app. So I know students could already order ahead, have their meal pretty much prearranged and ready to go within 5 minutes of pulling into one of the drive-through spaces.
Right. Just
They're gonna be
I
at
love
Chipotle in
Just a
Westford. They're
thought.
gonna be,
Going all the way to Westford and
We're
then
gonna
going
get
back.
McDonald's sign on the field after all this free advertising.
Yeah, right?
Like,
You don't have issues with DoorDash right now? We do.
Absolutely.
You do?
What is it? Oh, they deliver
DoorDash,
food to
yeah,
the store,
yeah,
school?
all the time.
With the, Dr. Renda, I think with all the excellent advertising we're giving to local businesses here, maybe we can now not have the dugouts be an ad alternate.
that's a possibility, and I would say maybe Karen's Kitchen would be a better alternative than
Oh,
than
yeah.
fast
And the
food.
cottage.
right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
have the
Absolutely.
Chinese.
And then you
Osawa's.
have-
Food is certainly
There's
better.
excellent,
Club.
excellent restaurant,
Club.
local restaurants in Air and Shirley will
Yes,
run. I
Cottage.
don't know if it's open at that time, but.
Yeah,
Maybe you could tell them they'll put out a special for the students,
oh, yeah.
and then they can all get the business.
And it's a funny thought, but my guess is many of them would consider it if they
Oh, I
knew
think they
that
would.
students would have a special pricing for coming
If
in
they
at
thought they
lunchtime.
had 10 or 15
Yeah.
Yeah.
customers more,
I'll drop a dime at the nose at the top. Oh, jeez.
yeah, there's.
The burger special, yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyway, anybody else?
Jim.
Jim?
Just a procedural pro forma. If this were an agenda item that might have garnered some interest from the public, this is the kind of stuff that would probably get some back and forth, as we have a lot of back and forth here. And it's not really an agenda item, but in the future, I think that we got to be careful on that kind of stuff. overall, as a policy-wise, I consider this to be a purview of the administration, not really our decision, and you just inform me. If it was a line item in the superintendent's report or something, okay. But with a special sheet and presentation, I think we just have to be careful on how we use the student time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, they should be able to make decisions last year in high school. So.
Thank you.
If I could interrupt, Erica needs just a couple of minutes because she's having issues with the taping. So we're just gonna pause for,
Sure.
and Erica, tell me when you're good. Okay.
Do we want to bump negotiations a week out?
Sure, if they're happy with it.
I'm just,
I mean, we could. I mean, I just, or leave it at the same time. Was it gonna be an hour?
that's the goal. That's a lot of people for an hour, but yeah, we have it for an hour. So let me, but I think we're off, right?
I don't think you're up on the audio.
I will be in touch with them tomorrow, and I will touch base with
Now you can get
them.
that too.
Maybe.
With them. I'll send an email to everybody.
Thank you.
There has to be something.
No, thank you.
You and Erica?
We talked about it too.
Just like,
What's that?
or someone can take my spot. Because my job, I don't know
Okay.
until like two days before. And once I say yes to something, I can't. So if something
the
switches
dates
at the
set?
last minute, no, you kind of go as you go. It's gonna be like, they're trying to do it on because,
I mean, I can't,
let's,
I just can't, I'm going on a ski trip this weekend. I'm the only one that can't ski because my stupid back. We're leaving some Thursday and some on Friday, early morning, so I don't know the hour.
well, between me, Erica, we can kind of fill in, but I think we're talking about it first.
So you could get to Kimball's and back, couldn't you?
Not if there's big lines.
Drive fast.
I feel like in high school is a game to see how far you could get from the high school to pick up the most like elaborate lunch.
I will say that my husband and I dated in high school, and he used to leave school and go to Burger King and get me hash browns, and then he'd put them in my locker, and he would go to my class and be like, "They're in your locker." So I'd be like, "Can I go to the bathroom?" Eat my hash browns and go back to class.
That's funny.
You have to do stuff like that.
I don't think I've
or
had a
else it
hash
doesn't
brown from
count.
Burger King since high school.
I can't even think of
You need
where
to have
Burger
it.
King is.
You need, huh?
I just saw one,
Teacher
Pittsburgh, I
said
think.
so.
Yeah, Burger King's so easy to.
Okay, are we,
Send us out to get 'em
no,
service
okay.
tickets.
By the way, guys, this is a decision of the administration, but it's very good to get this out before someone says, I saw a bunch of high school kids.
Yeah.
running around there, la, la, la."
Emily's like, "You're voting?" I'm like, "What? I didn't see that on the agenda." I was pre-warned. Oh, I didn't see this. It wasn't on my,
No, it's in-
No, the second page is.
Yes,
loving the sign, by the way.
thank you.
Oh my God, it's phenomenal.
Oh, I know, love it. Love it.
It's amazing. It's beautiful. Like, I get as excited about that as I do about the field. So
Well,
excited.
I have to tell you, I am so excited about the renderings for the field.
Oh, God.
It is.
reason it's not looking for.
It's unbelievable. Just, I can't wait for students to be able to get on the field and understand having the experience of what that brings to the field.
Yeah.
I mean, everything design-wise about it, from the pavers to the rock, to the stands, to the field itself, it's just gorgeous.
I haven't seen that since freshman year.
It gives me goosebumps. It's so awesome. And it'll be here soon. Erica, don't stress. Do we have audio?
You do.
Okay, so maybe we just go with audio.
You have audio, you just don't have video.
I think that's okay.
It says recorded, it doesn't say how,
Yeah.
what level, how much of it's recorded.
And we're broadcasting to the town on
Yeah,
town cable anyway.
don't stress over it, really. If we have audio, I'm comfortable with that. Just don't worry about it.
Okay, sorry guys.
Okay. You good now?
Okay, go on again.
Okay. Okay, all right, so we're back. And I'm not sure, Jim, did we leave off with you, or were you, your comments all set?
Yeah, well, that-
Okay, so I think we've established it's a decision for administration. You have my support, I think others. I'm excited to give you guys that and see how that works for you, and hopefully no one abuses it, and you enjoy it for the rest of the school year.
Thank you. I'm glad we could come up with something where, like, people who will abuse it, like won't have.
But that's
place to
learning,
do
isn't it?
And-
Yeah, you don't want to, yeah. The person that abuses is the one that loses the privilege and not the whole
And not
group.
everyone.
Right,
Yep.
right, good. All right, well, just don't race to get there, because
know.
I'm telling you, if you get pulled over, that's going to eat up about 15, 20
I know.
minutes.
Be careful.
And the extra fun for your lunch.
Yes, and you won't have any spending money for your lunches anymore. All right, great. So, anything else, Leisha?
That's it.
All right. Well, you know what? I love that you came and brought something to us and presented something that we can act on and make the senior year better for you. So keep brainstorming with your leaders in your class, and if there's anything else we can do to make it a better year for you, let us know.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we're going to move on now to public comment. So I am going to ask if anyone is listening and there is any public comment, if they could put their name in the chat. And we'll give it about a minute or so to see if anyone puts their name in. Dr. Pataky?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. See, this is what I get. And I just, so if I don't know something ahead of time and I've already said yes. He didn't do it. He's ready? Okay. Yep, of course. Mr. Pataky, are you there? Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you, Ms. Town. Thank you, Mr. Tebow, and thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, if it's not an inconvenience for the committee, I would like to request, given the audio and visual problems on the live stream, that someone email me the names of who the school committee has selected to serve on their side of the negotiation committee with ASRSD on Thursday.
Sure, we can definitely send that to you.
We can do that anyway.
Yeah, I think I already sent that to Mr. Lapointe, though. Or maybe no, maybe I didn't. Maybe he just told me he was on his side. Okay.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I really can't hear you. It sounds like you have a bucket over your head. That's what it sounds like for everyone. We really can't hear you in the chat.
Okay. Unfortunately, we're wearing masks, which makes it hard to hear. So we will send you that list.
Thank you very much.
Ask them if they can send theirs too.
They already did.
If they did, okay, good.
Okay. So anyone else? All right. So we are going to move on now to our consent agenda, which tonight is going to include the minutes from December 15th, regular session, and the warrant memo, which tonight has on it, if I can pull it up. Accounts payable warrant 1089, dated December 10th, 2021, for $315.60. Accounts payable warrant 1090, dated December 10th, 2021, for $816,517.63. Accounts payable warrant dated December 24th, 2021, for $305,860.65. Accounts payable warrant 1100, dated December 24th, 2021, for $2,079.58. and accounts payable warrant 1101 dated December 24th, 2021 for $315.60, as well as payroll warrant 13 dated December 17th, 2021 for $763,624.35, and payroll warrant 14 dated December 30th, 2021 for $763,624.35, which is what's on our memo. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda unless there's any comments or corrections.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the warrants that you read and the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that passes. We're going to move on to our new business, which is the appointment of the negotiations committee for the ASRSD contract negotiations. So we have discussed that and had come up with 3 individuals to serve. And that was going to be Erica, Joyce, and myself. But I do think it warrants some discussion as to whether we can have some alternates in this age of COVID with people kind of having to back out at the last minute and, wanting to not, appear as though we're not all interested in what's going on. And if you can't be there, you don't want to send the message that you're not interested. I know for myself with my work schedule, it can be very last minute and not necessarily, an 8 to 5. So I'm just throwing it out there if people feel like that's appropriate to have some backup as alternates so that if for some reason someone can't make it, that someone else could try to attend if that's even appropriate, or if, what people think about that.
I'm fine with being a backup if that's what is allowed or people are comfortable with. That's
Okay. Is there any way we can find out if there's any reason why that's not allowed?
We could certainly research that. Offhand, I don't know if it is or isn't allowed. The only thing that I would be sure of is that it can't be more than 3.
Right, exactly.
So if it matters that who those 3 are, I don't know, but we will get that answer and get back to you sometime tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, I just feel as though, we want our representation there, but one of us can't be there and then we're down to 2. If 2 of us can't be there, we're down to 1. I mean, it just,
Are we going to have executive sessions after every,
well, I don't know if we'll have one
negotiation
after
meeting?
every single
Not
one,
every
but,
single one, but.
yeah, I
So
think,
everybody's going to know what's on the committee. The 6 people on the committee will know what's going on.
right. So that's why I don't think it would be as big of a deal if someone were to go in.
I don't think so either.
I just, again, don't want it to, seem as though the school committee is just sending one person every time because,
And a different one person every time.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to obviously try to maintain.
It's not like we have 20 people,
Yeah, we have a small pool to pick from, and I just feel like, at any time, 3 of us could be home with COVID on, isolation or whatever. Hopefully
Or
not.
family problems. I mean, there's all kinds of
There's
stuff.
all kinds of things.
Madam
So,
Chair, along
yeah.
those same lines, I know that we do prefer in person, and they should remain in person, but having the ability to Zoom in case you have recently found out that you are positive and still want to attend the meeting.
But then you're sick. I mean, you could be sick. I mean,
You could be sick, and I think the idea is that, like, if you are asymptomatic, you probably still shouldn't be at the meeting,
Yeah.
but you are, by all intents, like, capable.
I'm envisioning that possibly 2 members having COVID and then having to cancel, reschedule the meetings and pushing
do
this
that.
timeline.
Yeah, but I fear for Joyce, I don't mean to be argumentative, but this can last who knows how long.
Right.
And we only have a certain period of time to do negotiations. I don't want us to be in the midst of, we're starting this in January, hoping to get through it, but that's winter time when people are cooped up and there's gonna be more
and the
spread.
snow days.
So I just feel like if we can give ourselves some flexibility, certainly not something that if half the group is going to be remote, then we wouldn't have it. But if it's 1 or 2 people that can't be there, rather than cancel when we have a time that everyone can actually agree on, that's hard to come by. We've sat in those rooms, Joyce, and pulled out our calendars and tried to pick a day, and nope, I
Right,
can't do that,
right.
I can't do that one. So I think having some sort of flexibility.
I just worry that the whole thing is then going to degrade to, well, I really don't want to go today, so I'll just do it by Zoom. And then you're back to this thing like people don't even put their face up. They put just their name, and you don't even know if they're there or not. There's a lot of hysteria with people not identifying themselves. They have their structured picture, and they're not on the screen. You
Well-
don't see them.
I don't think that the people that have committed to being part of this process would prefer to not be physically present.
Well,
I think
I know, but I mean,
there's
that
real
is,
value in
that is,
that.
there is a potential for that. And it's not fun trying to talk to a group when everybody's got their structured picture up.
Well, I think we can also say, if you're zooming in, you're zooming in with your face.
With live.
We want to see you, and if you can't have video, capabilities so that you can see your face, then don't zoom in, because.
zoom in.
Yeah,
Certainly, if you're not well enough to have your camera on, you're
Right.
probably not well enough to attend.
right.
Well, I mean, it's
I don't
just,
think there's
a
anything
lot
wrong
of
with
people
saying
will
that.
speak up behind a facade, and this is not what this is about. This
Yeah,
is
but we know these
face-to-face.
people. It's not like,
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
not like anyone's,
This isn't a hostile takeover.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's
We also
is,
want to be, working with people in cooperative, and,
Sure.
and we want the same, so I think,
But you understand where I'm coming from.
yes, absolutely.
I don't, this is not a blind negotiations.
Right, but I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, okay, if you're gonna zoom in, we really,
Want you to be there.
we want you to have your face on the screen, so, there's value in seeing faces, and even though sometimes that messes me up, but, there is value in that, and we could put that in the
Well,
norms.
the effort would be to be there.
Yeah, the preference, I mean, that's what they,
The preference.
the
Absolutely.
union has
And-
asked.
And their preference is in person.
Right,
And are we going to do that here? Was that the final decision?
The library at law.
Library at law.
okay.
Zoom question aside, I think in terms of backups, if it's appropriate, I own my schedule enough that I can block off whenever meetings are and I'm a minute and a half from law, so I can show up as needed. Again, if you have people who are sick or people who, are traveling, things come up with work. So,
Right.
if alternates are permitted, again, Cheryl,
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to let other people
No,
do
and I
this,
think
and I'm
it-
also
yeah.
more than happy to be as helpful as I
Yeah.
can be.
And I think it's good too for, it's good that Erica's doing it. It's good for you too, if you can get there I think it actually opens up the opportunity for, if you are able to do to learn the process, because, there's gonna come a time that you're gonna be the veteran, and, you're gonna have to lead the show. So it's good to know how it all works. So if we could find that out to make sure that that's acceptable,
Certainly.
and then I think we would want to proceed, I would personally want to proceed on that, because I don't want to have us having less than our, kind of contingency, if at all possible. And
Right.
there are things that are going to come up at the last minute in this day and age, so,
It's happening every day.
yeah.
Well, you have families and everything else. There can be anything, anytime, with anybody.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think we've covered that, and we can
Are
move.
are we back on audio? And the only reason I say that is because I know we have at least some folks who wanted to hear the outcome of this conversation, who
Oh.
were listening but couldn't hear because we were doing all audio through the computer. Do we want to just summarize real quick I don't know if anyone's still on, but.
Well, I think we'll
Could we
email
just
the
ask
union the
Michelle to
list.
Email
Yeah.
that information.
Yeah,
I will email the co-presidents, the 3 team members and the possible alternates tonight after the school committee.
Okay, great.
perfect. I know, and I do apologize for the quality of the audio. It has nothing to do with our recording, but I do sound like I have a bucket over my head, because I basically have
Yeah.
a bucket over my head.
I also don't know that we were using the phone. I think everything was over the laptop, so we were speaking through our masks across the room and through a computer microphone that was
Yeah.
facing a different direction.
Yeah, we're doing our best,
Oh, that
so,
was perfect.
so, anyway. Okay, so we are going to move on now to new business item B, approval of the 2022-2023 Air Shirley Regional High School Program of Studies. Mr. Christie.
Thank you. So I sent an agenda a little bit earlier that covers really all of the kind of major and minor tweaks we make to the program of study. There are some that we make every year, such as the school year changing, the letter from both Dr. Meyer and me. We also make edits to grammar, punctuation, capitalization, other conventions, where we find that we may have missed a bit before. I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have, or if there's any specific section you'd like for me to go.
Just going to take a minute to review your memo, and then if anyone has anything, please let me know. Is this early?
So it's what we aim to hit.
Okay. I feel like we're usually doing this later in the year. Not that it matters, I'm just,
One of the things, and I'll tell you, the building leaders that we have at the high school are phenomenal. So Ms. Capasso is here, who represents English. We started this discussion back in September, October, on any new courses that folks would be looking to add to the program of studies. Back then, as we started to already figure out what our budgetary needs would be for the 22-23 school year, clearly this becomes one of the more major factors.
do have to say, I love the seal of biliteracy. I think that's really cool.
The what?
Seal of biliteracy,
Mhm.
so that kids can be designated as bilingual.
Love financial literacy, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And thank you. The seal of biliteracy is something we're really excited about, and huge thank you to Desi for being flexible with the requirement on how English proficiency can be viewed this year.
What was
is
that?
So initially, they were going to have all seniors take the English portion of the MCAS to prove proficiency in English. At this point, they're taking competency determination, which means passing one of the courses that we have in our course of studies.
Ah, so Emily took it for nothing.
Yes.
The problem is that they didn't make that decision public until
And she was sick.
the end of December.
Not with
Sometimes
COVID.
we have students that go above and beyond.
Yeah, well, I'm sure she would have rather not.
I will say that annually, I am astounded by the course offering for a school of this size. It's absolutely remarkable, but really for me, after having 2 students graduate and 1 in here, the thing that's most remarkable is the work that the administration and the guys and people do to try to do everything within their power to massage schedules and move stuff around to accommodate the most amount of students. You can't do everything, it's not possible. But really, they go the extra mile all the time to try to find out some way to let the kids do a couple of things that they really want to do and still keep on the track that they're on. So, I mean, really, that should get back to the rest of the staff. All the parents feel the same way too. They know how hard you guys work for it. But we're always very understanding when somebody can't take one block because it conflicts with the rest of it. But we know that it's an exceptionally difficult task that you are affording it very, very well.
Thank you, Mr. Quinty. You know, I have to turn around and thank my faculty, because time and time again, we come to them with requests to have another student in their course, or to allow a student to be in a course during a different period than that course runs. And time and again, they come through for us, and they go the extra mile for students that come into their classroom, and they'll stay late with every student that shows passion in an area. They'll work specifically on independent projects with students in a real area. They continue to amaze me every day. And having just such a wonderful group of kids in the district and being able to work with such a wonderfully talented staff keeps us energized and looking for those possible fixes we can find for every student to come through here with the education that they want.
It's good to see another AP, science.
So I have to say, that's a real credit to Ms. Melanson, who 2 years ago took the AP Environmental Science course And although it's been running for a few years at an honors level, she's been using the AP curriculum to advance it. And so
Okay.
students that have come through have had the opportunity to take the AP exam well in the honors course. This year, we hope to give them the credit for taking that rigorous course of study that they deserve. But Ms. Melanson is absolutely fantastic and really has gone above and beyond, again, in giving students that extra boost that they could get in that course.
Yeah, it's great too, because, you know, sometimes those chemistry and physics aren't really for all kids, and this is another option to take a science at an AP level, so that's great. Well, this all looks really good. Does anyone else have any questions or comments before we vote? I'm assuming you need a vote, right? Yeah. All right, well, if nobody does, I'll entertain a motion to approve the program of studies as it's presented for the 2022-2023 school year.
I'll make a motion to approve it. I was daydreaming. I was thinking about it. Program studies for 22 and 23 for Air Shirley Regional High School.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you so
coming.
much.
Awesome, awesome.
Mr. Christie?
Yes.
Anybody who's taking the astronomy course, we want a full presentation on the new thing that went up. I always say it wrong. It starts with a W. Since my husband gives me day-by-day minute reports on it, I think the kids should.
What is it?
Well, I'll tell you, I know
The
Mr.
satellite
Tully
that went
is
up,
is an
yeah.
astronomy nut, so we can absolutely give the school committee an update the next time we're here.
I mean, that's where astronomy is now. It's
Absolutely.
right there, you know, and it's only 30 years to develop it, so it should be noticed, I think.
It's every time I look at this, I'm like, I would like to take that. I would like to take that. I would like. There's so many interesting things on here that it's great.
You know, I'll tell you, walking through the hallways, you get part of a conversation. I was walking upstairs the other day, and I passed by Mr. Prescott's room, and I hear the Kinks playing. And I'm thinking, oh, this is so cool. I wonder what's going on. And I walk inside, and it's the history of rock and roll, and students are discussing a famous album and specific musical notes that are happening in there. And it's phenomenal. And I walk by, you know, Mr. Gubalini's room, and there's something in humanities that's happening, and my interest is perked. Or I walk by Miss Allard's room, and they're discussing a finer point of law with students. And I think, how wonderful would this have been when I was in high school? I would have loved any of these courses. So I'm really thrilled with what we're able to offer students. And what I love about the faculty here is they keep searching for those interest areas. Mr. Moore is offering 2 new courses this year in programming, because as he's running through the computer science courses, he's finding students love that. And we were very lucky to have Page Hilltop students come and test students' computer apps here a few weeks ago. And it was wonderful to have that face-to-face interaction with the target audience. As students are designing apps for younger students, to have students play them and say, this is really cool, I love what this does, but I wish that. And it's that immediate real-time feedback that happens that I think inspires us all. That Mr. Moore then went off and thought, oh, I can create 2 new courses that are going to absolutely blow their socks off.
Tying in with the middle school and getting feedback from them or those instructors or the kids to see what is going to be coming up, that we can be ready for it and not disappoint them like, oh yeah, well no, this was yesterday's hat, right? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a wonderful partnership with Mr. Ulrich, who's been fantastic to work with. So certainly looking at with Mr. Ulrich and his team at new courses that middle school students might wish to take would be definitely something we would be interested
Well, and
in.
then, or have it ready when they get here. Well,
Absolutely.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So they don't walk in and go, oh, no, this
Yes.
is old now.
We believe we're going to have a wonderful package here for them when they arrive with a beautiful new field that will be recently completed, you know, by October of them coming through the doors. We're putting the final touches on our NEASC report which is sparkling and I think holds the school and district in glory. So I think that they're going to get to walk into a phenomenal situation here at the high school, where they're walking into one of the best high schools in America, and really an undershown gem.
Don't tell too many people.
No, I want the news out there, because I want every
I want
one
the
of those
news out
middle
there.
school students to come here. Because
Having twice the population might be scary.
Oh, we can handle it.
Can.
not only that,
Bring it on.
we're giving the families the best buy we could give them.
I know we are.
You know, I know folks pay money in their taxes for the education that comes through here, and we're giving them something that they can be very proud of.
So this will be nice that this is all set. You can pass this along to the middle school and share it as part of like the, the, whatever you call it, the step-up day or whatever.
Absolutely.
And
So
maybe,
we've held one of them already with the middle schoolers to kind of run them through what life at the high school looks like. But this is the next major step for us. So I know both Dr. Meyer and Ms. Wilson are on tonight. This marks another milestone for us as we work towards having those middle school students enter the high school. And by all means, we're really excited to share with them the program of studies we have here.
Great.
So thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Capasso.
Thank you.
Do you have
Okay.
anything to add? Are we going to Italy this year?
Pardon me?
Are we going to Italy this year? No.
I think travel is off the table
For the moment.
well, at least until I retire, then you can figure it out from there. So I wouldn't speak to that, I'd love to, but COVID's not going anywhere.
No,
And I don't want to be quarantined in Greece, you know?
no.
Really?
I would be in my room, I don't know about your kids, they're quarantined in their rooms, that's part of the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
I think travel's gonna be off the table for a while.
Yeah.
A very long while. Well, at least.
At least
for the
this year.
remainder of my tenure.
No, I think it's not, yeah. I wouldn't hold my breath. Too
No.
much is happening.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for everything you and your colleagues are doing during these
Thank you.
Crazy,
We appreciate that.
difficult
It's-
times.
As everyone says, it's a year like no other, but I think it's the third year like no other,
Yeah.
so, we appreciate your support and we appreciate your.
So far, it's only
your
22
vote.
months.
I'm
So
sorry?
far, it's only 22 months, but who's counting?
Oh, God.
I am.
My nephew is an infectious disease doctor.
Oh.
And he's saying at least 3 more good years of this.
What?
Yeah, at least.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I call him regularly and ask.
Try again tonight. Maybe I'll have a different answer.
Every time she
Well,
calls
right
me,
now,
adds a
he's
year.
with COVID. So-
Maybe he's adding years just so you don't ask anymore.
Yeah, I know, wouldn't that be great? I don't think so.
Well, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Okay, so
Nice
we
seeing you.
are going to move on to our superintendent's report. Dr. Renda.
Thank you. We have an amended fiscal year '23 budget timeline. So the budget timeline has been updated to reflect the school district's budget presentation dates to the select boards and the finance committees of Aaron Shirley. The Shirley Select Board and Finance Committee meeting will be Monday, February 7th at 6 p.m. and people can attend both in person or remote. The Air Select Board and Finance Committee meeting is Tuesday, February 15th. This is a virtual meeting. We are recommending at this time that the school committee move their meeting on March 16th, 2022 to March 9th, 2022, as the budget requires certification 45 days prior to the first town meeting. Day 45 is March 11th, 2022.
Well, that was fast. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but I'll get to you later.
So the Air Town meeting is April 25th,
Yep.
and the Shirley Town meeting is May 9th. And if I talked, I'm more than happy to repeat any of that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
You're going to have
No
to.
problem.
I didn't even get
So
started.
we are recommending that the school committee move the March 16th meeting to March 9th. The budget requires certification
Yeah,
45 days
45
prior
days.
to the first town meeting. Day 45 is March 11th.
Okay.
Okay.
And the Air Town meeting is April 25th, and the Shirley Town meeting is May 9th.
And you said the are those finance selectmen meeting combined, or is it finance committee meetings on
They are
those days
combined.
in February?
Those meetings are combined for both Shirley and Air. It
So
is
no-
the select board and the finance committee for both meetings.
Okay, and so Monday, February, what was,
Monday, February 7th
thank you.
at 6 for Shirley, and that meeting can be attended in person or remote. And Tuesday, February 15th, is the Air Select Board and Finance Committee meeting, and that is a virtual meeting.
And you'll send us links, I'm assuming.
Sending links on
Absolutely.
those.
Yep.
Okay.
And is Air 6 o'clock also?
Yes, I believe it is.
Yep, it's right here on
Okay.
We're just faster than the speed of light.
My apologies, I will slow down. We do have an update, there seems to be some confusion that we've noticed online with contact tracing and who is considered a close contact and who is not. Some parents are feeling that they're not being contacted. Their children or students are coming home and telling them that they have come into contact with someone who has COVID, and then they're not receiving a phone call from the school, and they're curious why. So hopefully this will clarify that. So a close contact, as defined by the Department of Education, the Department of Public Health, are individuals who have been within 6 feet of a COVID-positive individual while indoors for at least 15 minutes in a 24-hour period. So if I happen to be next to someone who is COVID-positive indoors for 5 minutes, I would not be considered a close contact. So while we're doing that contact tracing, we would not notify a family that they're a close contact and they would need to quarantine.
So conceivably, you could have a classroom of kids, and if one kid is sitting on one side of the room and the other is in, the front corner, if they haven't been within 3 feet of each other, that student isn't going to get a call, even though they're in the same class.
100%, that happens every time there's a positive pool. It actually gets more specific when we're talking about classrooms in particular.
Okay.
Okay, and again, this is from DESE guidelines, Department of Education and Department of Public Health. And I forgot my glasses today, so please excuse me. So in the classroom, when an individual is exposed to a COVID-19 positive person in the classroom, while both individuals are masked, so as long as the individuals were spaced at least 3 feet apart, they are exempt from testing and quarantine responses, protocols. So if you are wearing a mask and we are 3 feet apart, I would not have to quarantine if he is positive for COVID.
So let's be clear, anyone listening, if they can even hear. If 2 students are in the same classroom and they've been masked all day, one student tests positive, regardless of proximity, that other student, or is the 3 feet in that case as well?
It is 3 feet within the classroom.
Okay.
And it is still, it would have to be longer than 15 minutes for someone to be considered a close contact that we would notify the family that they would have to quarantine. So they're, like everything else with these protocols, sometimes they contradict each other, but we are following the guidelines from the Department of Ed to a T. So if you do not receive a phone call from us, it is because your child was not identified as a close contact.
So can you outline what the circumstances would be that a person would be considered a close contact in the classroom, say?
If students were working within 3 feet of each other
Yep.
for more than 15 minutes, and one of those students tested positive, we would then, through contact tracing, talking to the teacher, talking to other individuals who may be in that classroom, the teacher identifies that happened within 3 feet for longer than 15 minutes, we would contact the families to let them know that your child was a close contact with someone who had tested positive for COVID, and we would need them to follow the quarantine procedures.
Okay. So that, I think, is pretty clear. So are our students in their seats in a class 3 feet apart?
Almost 100%. There are times when it's less than 3 feet. We are social distancing as best we can. So in most spaces, we have adequate space to do 3 feet. At times, our students closer than 3 feet? Absolutely.
Okay.
And that is also the guidance through the Department of Ed. There is not a number of that we are supposed to make sure that they are separate all of the time. It is the best that we can.
Okay. So for all intents and purposes, if a student is in a classroom, most likely they're sitting more than 3 feet from another student. So even if they're sitting next to a student all day and that student tests positive, they would not be considered a close contact because they've been more than 3 feet away.
They would not. And if they were wearing their mask and washing hands frequently or disinfecting, chances of them contracting COVID would be much less.
Okay, so that's important for people to understand, that just because someone in the class is positive and you're not getting a call, it doesn't mean the school's being neglectful. They're following DESI guidelines and they're not considered a close contact.
That is exactly correct.
Okay, good.
And if anyone has questions on that, they certainly can reach out to the superintendent's office. I'd be more than happy to either answer that question or get a more thorough answer from our nurse leader, Renee Payne.
Great.
I think the other thing to remember is this is kind of a moving target as more and more we learn more from the studies, because was it today, I saw something about now they're going to try to require very specific masks, the N, whatever.
KN or N95.
Yes. As another layer of that protocol, but that hasn't, so stay tuned. It could change.
That may happen if they can get the masks. And
Right,
the masks
and-
that we received, all districts received, actually were not
I know.
the masks that we were promised.
Yeah.
Not that they may be they're great masks, but we don't know if they're the medical grade that we were
Right.
promised.
Right, yeah.
But they're always all 3 layer, right?
No,
They're 3-layer.
these were almost like counterfeit masks or something. They
Oh,
were like-
because that's not what we had initially. 'cause that was better. When we started
They were-
in
they were
2020, we didn't
distributed to all
have,
the
we had the
schools.
right mask.
Yes, the K95 masks are I believe you get the most filtration out of them.
Like
Yeah.
Charlie's.
That is a
Yeah.
KN95.
KN95.
K95 are the ones that fit very tight against your
Yeah.
face, and they're, I think, more circular. There's that.
Okay.
I'm not a mask expert, but they're
You're becoming
slightly
one.
different. Or we're becoming one,
Yeah.
yeah, yes. So,
Well, there is a school that, if they have a COVID test, if they have a positive COVID, the whole classroom is notified.
we understand.
They are doing that.
Yeah,
some-
there are
some
different
districts.
there are different districts doing different things.
Mhm.
As soon as we start going away from guidance, it's kind of the Wild West.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
know.
We
Well, the parents get notified if there's a case in them.
I also think
This is elementary,
district-
where they're in the same room all day,
Yeah.
you know.
we are notifying close contacts.
I also think it's hard to always, it's this parent heard this thing is happening in this other town is really hard to keep up with, because that is, districts are changing as DESI is changing. And so what Townsend was doing 4 weeks ago is probably what we were doing 4 weeks ago. But I think that's where sometimes you get a lot of excitement in a community, because, things are changing, and they're changing all the time. And having come from this time last year where you had a case in a school, you had a very different reaction. People became accustomed to that, and as guidelines are changing, I think people are, understandably, confused and want to know why. But I think sometimes it's hard to keep up with the rumor mill of what's happening in schools across the Commonwealth, because
It's called the internet.
it's often out of date, because things have changed so rapidly. And even if you work in a building, you don't, this is not about Air Shirley, but just because you work in a building, you don't always know what's happening in a building. So,
A perfect example of this is I was looking for the exact definition for tonight on the Department of Ed's website. The problem is that they have their current definition, but they have their prior definitions up also.
yep.
So, having had to navigate that website often the last 22 months, we were able to identify the current definition to use. However, if parents go on to look, I would imagine most would find the first definition, and that was from 2020, and it has changed. So we are using the current guidelines as recommended by TPH and DESE, and I think one of the important things to remember is our mitigation strategies have been working. Yes, there is an uptick right now in positive cases in the schools, but for the most part, a lot of those cases came back with students and staff
Oh, sure.
after break.
Yeah, they all did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
do
this
we
week,
have
this
much-
week was much better than last week, at least the opening. We're still waiting for some results, so I'm not saying that it is better yet, but the number of absences has decreased.
Do we know, I mean, the reality is we haven't had that much school since the new year. If we've had much spread in buildings, or at this point, has it been largely outside of school is where we're suspecting a lot of the,
So we don't know yet because
Yeah.
we're waiting on our pool results for
Right.
Monday. And
Okay.
then we won't get the pool results from today,
Until-
either tomorrow or on Thursday. We'll have a better idea then. What we can use as a metrics, though, right now, is the number of staff we've had out.
Yep.
And this week is considerably better than last week.
Well, up until, last week, the only mandated place you had to wear masks was the school system. You couldn't, if you want to be safe, you should be in a school because everybody has a mask on,
Or Littleton.
and that's pretty much the way that works. As soon as you leave this building and you go outside and you get off the bus, it's a Wild West. You can go into stores, you can do anything you want. Certain business, and just last week, the town hall in Shirley mandated masks, and certain other communities are starting to do that, you know. So that's one aspect that I think here makes a big difference, is we've learned in the last 2 years with COVID that it's droplets are heavier, they drop faster, they don't stay on surfaces long. So if you can slow the projection, even if you are positive, you're doing 90% of what you really need to do regardless of the quality of the mask that you have on. So I'm very happy with the way that the school, we're the easy ones to test, we're the easy ones to control, which is why we have it, and really that's why it's so effective for us here. I think we've done a great job from there, and I expect that's going to continue down this path, and I don't know how long it's going to go, but there's 24 letters in the Greek alphabet, we'll see how deep we get.
I'm saying, Mr. Christie's not here, but I will go onto the district website and click the tracker once a week, and it has been amazing watching the high school this year, not just relative to the school district, but relative to other schools in the state. So whatever, I mean, if anyone was concerned about high school seniors going to McDonald's, the fact that, again, in this past week where I think they had 5 students, no staff, I mean, it's just astounding. So.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
I think the vaccination rates probably help with that too.
Yeah.
That absolutely helps.
It should. I think Mr. Quincy made a great point about it's not being able to survive on surfaces. We did have some students who tested positive in a pool, and we were doing 2 swabs. They tested positive again on an antigen test, a rapid test in school, and then their parents got an email from CIC, the testing company, saying their PCR test tested negative. So just to clarify that for some parents who are confused how that happened, the problem is that the lab is so backed up doing the second swab that the virus was no longer viable on those swabs. It was, I believe, over 72 hours before they were able to test that. So there was some confusion for parents whose children participated in pool testing last week. The pool tested positive. We administered, literally we administered the antigen test. Last week, we were able to identify who was positive in the pool, able to send them home and do the quarantine process. But then over the weekend, Friday or over the weekend, they get an email directly from CIC saying that the PCR test was negative.
Of the 2 that you had sent home to quarantine?
There was a few students who tested positive with an antigen and then tested negative on a PCR, but that was because when we took the swab on Monday, it didn't get tested until Friday or Saturday.
Oh, fantastic.
But that was happening with the second swab. It was not happening with the pool testing.
So is the Neshoba Board of Health making any new statements on their stuff?
Not-
Because Littleton, you wear a mask. You go in anywhere in Littleton, and that's been since September 9th or something, you wear a mask.
I'm not aware of any changes that the Board of Health.
I think
Sure.
in AIR has issued an advisory, but not a mandate. I don't know
I
about,
see more and more just at the grocery store wearing them, but I think what people need to remember, for some reason, it seems like it's always like worry about the school, but just because somebody tests positive doesn't mean that
It came from the school.
it came from the school, because, I mean, I work at a high school, I see those kids piling out of cars in the morning with no mask, like 6, 7, 8 kids shoved into a car, like, you know, they're out in the community together, they're together on weekends, they're, you know, the Christmas parties, like, you know, New Year's Eve stuff, so I think we're doing a really good job trying to follow the protocols, and sorry, that is my phone. My mother is trying to call me right now, but, okay. Anyway.
I do think about our nurses all the time, so please pass
Oh, yeah.
along our thanks to Renee Payne and the rest of the school nurses. And it sounds like the two of you who are administering tests, thank you to everyone that's making this happen, because I can't even imagine what it's like.
The nurses certainly deserve much more credit than we do. Yep. And actually, the whole staff, everyone, it takes everyone to make this work.
Yeah.
But the nurses certainly are overworked.
Yeah.
And doing a great job. And we probably are not appreciating them as much as we should, so we're going to try to change that. But they're incredible.
Yeah.
So to move on and to update you on some of the infection rates in the cities, you'll notice this time I have kept the infection rate of what we had last time. So in AIR, the last time we reported out, the infection rate was 53.8 per 100,000. Currently is 128 per 100,000. And in Shirley, it was 35.2. And now it is 78.8 per 100,000.
Wow,
So
so it's doubled.
yes, both have more than doubled since last time. But on some good news, our vaccination rates have also gone up. 68% of our high school is fully vaccinated. 60% of our middle school, that is a nice jump up. 30% of Laura White has received at least 1 dose, and 34% of Page Hilltop has received at least 1 dose. We expect the elementary school numbers to continue to rise. It is still challenging. It can be challenging to get appointments. We're moving in the right direction. Also, the Department of Ed has extended their mask requirement at least through February 28th, 2022. This probably is not going anywhere. Wearing a mask still remains one of the most important measures to keep students and teachers safe in school and to slow the spread. Schools can continue to apply to lift the mask requirement if they can demonstrate at least 80% of all students and staff in a school building are vaccinated. We would probably be very close at the high school with that number if we included staff in that percentage. What we presented tonight at 68% is students only. That is still a local decision.
It's a
Just because
recommendation, not a decision.
if we hit the 80%, that does not trigger an end to mask. The only thing that could do that is a vote from the school committee. So this could, we could be wearing masks for, we heard it might go on for 3 years, we could do it for 4 years.
You have to
Not-
go back
not
to the
that we won't.
Texas group, who there was no requirement for masks, so the school committee integrated the mask requirement into the dress code. Guess what? The dress code.
Currently, masks are recommended for students ages 5 or older. We have students in preschool who are wearing them. There are some who are not, and they are exempt for a medical or behavioral need, and that is through a doctor's note or identified through our own special education process. All visitors are still expected to wear masks in all buildings, regardless of their vaccination status. Masks are not required outdoors, and it is, that was covered. Masks are required for any sports-related activity for all student athletes, coaches, when indoors, in alignment with the guidance provided by MIAA. And masks should still be provided by the family, but disposable masks will be made available for any students who need them. And it is the federal mandate that masks are worn on all school buses. We do have, to go to a more positive topic, we do have a list of college acceptances for the Air Shirley Regional High School. There are some updates, but the list isn't too long at this point, so I think we'll review. It's been a while. Assumption College, Bridgewater State University, Emmanuel College, Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, Merrimack College, Keene State College, Simmons University, Stonehill College, University of Massachusetts Boston, University of Massachusetts Lowell, and Worcester State University. That's a great start. And these were submitted, and not only were they accepted, these are where students have decided to go. I'm not sure if I did not say that at the beginning.
They're where they decided to go, really?
I believe that.
Usually they're just acceptance.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's just college acceptance, we're not there.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
I was gonna
I was
say.
jumping the gun, my apologies.
Is that in addition to the list we had before, or is that?
That is the whole list.
whole list at the point-
It's not
this
too
point.
long right
Okay.
now, so I just read them all. And that is all for the superintendent's report. There will be a little bit of redundancy when we go over the budget timeline.
Okay. We'll remind our seniors, I'm sure they're all watching, to get your acceptances in.
Yes.
I can tell you that my daughters aren't on there.
I just have a really quick question, not to be a Debbie Downer and go back to the COVID thing. I'm still surprised at how low the vaccination rate is, and knowing how long you have to sit on the phone to have a conversation with a nurse, or, you know, not in the school, like to get an appointment with your own doctor, your kid's doctor, or speak to anybody. It's impossible so when people have questions or concerns, where do they reach out? And they try to reach out to their doctors and literally sit on the phone for an hour, or send an email and you don't get any response for days on end. Is there a place parents can go that's user-friendly to get accurate information about vaccines? Because there's too much garbage flying around out there,
Still,
you know. And I haven't seen anything or been able to direct people that you know of. That's just, and I don't mean one of the studies, because that's, you know.
Right, you need to take a class on how to read a study at this point. They actually have those classes.
Yeah.
But offhand, I don't. But it's interesting that you bring this up, because one of the problems that we're having, because this is so frustrating to get good information, or get a doctor or your primary care on the phone, is a lot of parents are relying on our school nurses. And unfortunately, it's to the point where it's actually becoming an issue and causing, not that we're unsafe, we are, but it is really getting in the way of some of the work that nurses have to do during the day, and they are mobbed. The other part of that is, and I'm so happy you brought this up, I will be advising nurses to put away messages on Fridays on their email, because the nurses cannot be answering questions unless it's an emergency over the weekend. I would suggest and recommend that, and we have already told staff this, if they have questions, they need to reach out to building administration. And parents, if it's an emergency, it should be calling a primary care, state it's an emergency, and if you really need to talk to somebody at the school level, please email the building administration, and we will filter that. And if it does require a response from a school nurse or the nurse leader, we will make that happen. But if you get an away message from the school nurse when you email them on a Saturday or Sunday, that was directed by the superintendent's office.
Yeah.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah. So I had forgot to put that on the superintendent's report. What we will do, however, is we will do that research to find out if there are hotlines for accurate vaccination information. We will post that on social media and our website, and I will blast that out in an email as soon as we have that. So we will take the responsibility of filtering what is some good and factual.
Yeah, question and answer
Yeah.
stuff that would come from parents, because it's nearly impossible. The fear out there and the misinformation and the conspiracy theories are so widespread that no wonder parents will step back and go, you know what, it's probably just safer for me to say no right now because I can't get the accurate information. So it would be good if it, in a user-friendly kind of way.
We'll find websites and hotlines where parents can reach out to. I'm sure they're out there. And actually, please share.
The mass.gov site is the simplest one that I've seen. I haven't done extensive research on this, but it has, right on the banner, literally the first thing you look at is vaccination and get your booster for kids aged 12 to 17. Get your Pfizer booster if you're eligible. And then there's additional questions below that for different vaccination status and boosters and so on that kids can get and sign up for. Find a vaccine and so on. So they tend to be pretty updated. So when we put together a lot of our own guidelines within the system to help administrators and teachers to understand kind of protocols and processes, we consulted the mass.gov site in addition to the DESI site and DPH site and CDC site to put all that together. But we found kind of the flow of the mass.gov site is actually pretty good.
It is really good. The only thing is it becomes a second job, part-time job to get
Yep.
yourself an appointment. It's not
Yes.
easy to find
Right.
booster shot appointments, and
Right.
so I can understand why there's some frustration with that because it's not easy. It takes forever.
Actually,
and-
someone said the best place to get your booster and stuff was the little air drugstore.
Yeah.
Well, there's a wait there. Actually, I've got 2 appointments on the 15th. I'm going to be canceling, so if someone wants to get on the phone, I can take those two.
I got my kids.
I had to drive to Springfield to get my booster, so I mean,
Yeah.
That's where
They're
you
a
go.
little easier to find, you just have to, you can't like get it a couple of days, like, you might have to go
Oh, then you have a
couple of
husband
weeks
who
in
sits
advance.
online until he finds one for you and tells you, this is where you're going.
yeah.
I'm like,
Well, that's
okay.
what you have to do. It's like a second job.
Not that anyone is, there are 24-hour CVS stores, and you can schedule them at 1 or 2 in the morning, and they tend
Well, there you go.
They tend to be
That's
open.
Do they have the pharmacist there?
They are doing them because I've
Yeah.
seen that.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah.
The one last thing I will say for all these kids that are starting to hear from colleges, that those that aren't vaccinated, I don't know of any college that is not requiring a vaccination, so that's something, if you have questions about vaccines, like, get your answers now, because if you're planning on sending your kid off to college, they're gonna be required to have even the booster, so
Even the
they will have
booster.
to have 3 to go on, and,
So
the clock is ticking.
we will put a link to this site on our site. We will also find a hotline, and we can see about hosting additional clinics. I can't
Was
make
the
any.
last one successful at all? I
Did
know the
anyone
first
show
one
up for the
wasn't.
last
Yeah,
one?
I did.
We did host one when we had 0. We
Yeah,
had
I
given
didn't
0
think it was-
vaccinations, but that was towards the
Early.
beginning. That was in October.
That
Yeah.
was before this spike.
Right, and we
Yeah.
did hold another when elementary students were
We did one right
eligible,
after
and that
Christmas,
was,
yeah.
that was better attended. I don't have the numbers offhand.
That's good.
We can certainly see if we can do that again.
The Neshoba Board of Health was doing them too. I happened to see that. So there are some community-based.
Yeah, there's also a pop-up clinic through the Massachusetts Library Association, I believe. I
Yeah.
could have the association wrong, so we
I
can
think
reach out
Pittsburgh
to.
Library was going to be doing it.
For a while, the Ecotarium in Worcester would,
Yeah.
Oh, did they?
we're running them. You can go down, you can go hang out at the museum all day after you got your shot. Same with the
that's
Museum
cool.
of Science.
That's actually a
Yeah.
great promotion.
That said, I think if you are willing to, make your appointment a week out, generally you can find something at CVS.
Not, you couldn't like a couple weeks ago. Maybe
Really?
you can now, yeah.
Yeah, I just did 2 for my kids, scheduled them, so.
Okay, so good.
So they
Yeah.
can go back to school, right?
Right, they have
Get
to
rid of them.
have a booster, yeah, and test negative
Fun
right
times.
after my speech.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck.
That's the only way we're going to, it's the only way we're going to stop this and take it under control. So this isn't just something that, even for your own health, it has to be for the whole society.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Dr. Renda, is that your report?
That is all for the superintendent.
Not to cut you off or anything,
No,
but.
not at all.
All right, so we're going to move on then to the update on the ESSER2 and ESSER3 grant funds, which I'm assuming you'll take over for Mr. Plunkett.
Well, I believe Mr. Plunkett is actually joining us virtually.
Oh.
I am here.
Yay!
Hi, Bill.
I'm here, guys.
Can you hear us?
Nice to be with everybody, even if it's virtually.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Do I sound like I'm a bucket? Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, we wanted to get you guys something so you could see what was going on, what makes up the ESSER grants, because it is a lot of money. And we also started talking about it during our budget meetings because it contains a lot of positions, a lot of professional and other salaries. So in your package, you have the budget entries for the ESSER2 and the ESSER3. I believe it's item 9A1 for the ESSER2. And I just wanted to go through it quickly, the components of it. I felt that the budget entry was the best way to look at the information of what is in the grant. So the ESSER2, the duration runs through June 30th, 2022. So we have until next June for this grant. It's just shy of $1.8 million. And on page 1, you can see the second section, instructional professional salaries, is the largest component of items in this grant. And most of it is for salaries for professionals, literacy coach, we have social workers, school nurse, BCBA for early childhood. These are all positions that we've either added already or we will be adding them over a 2-year period for this grant. So going on to the next sections, you can see support in the page 2. This third section is support salaries. We have 2 more positions, an ABA specialist and a reading para. This is all to address the learning loss and also the social emotional component for the students how they've been impacted from the pandemic. We make our way down to section 5, that's fringe benefits. Anytime that you have certified staff in the grant, you have to, they automatically calculate the MTRS. I call it the double dip. So they get it from the employee and they get it from out of our grant as well. So that's a fringe benefit. And we have a health insurance in for one of our Title I teachers, which will greatly help our general fund budget. And then rounding out the rest of this grant, we have contracted services, $453,000, mostly for PD and mental health services. Coming down to supply in section 7, supplies and materials, $266,000 for hardware. Technology and hardware is big. Diagnostic assessments for special ed. Reading materials and health and nursing textbooks and support. So those are the major components of the ESSER2 grant. In total, it is just under 1.8 million, and it does run through June 30th of 2022. So that one we're underway with, and we already have some positions in the budget, or positions hired. Now ESSER3, which is 9.A.3 in your agenda items, like the same budget entry setup, this grant duration runs through September 30th, 2024. So we do have a couple more years on this one, and it is just over 4.1 million in total. Again, we come down, we have administrator salaries for a grants manager and part of our director of counseling's salary. The second section is our professional staff, where we're addressing, again, the social emotional needs of the students, learning loss, medical nursing, instructional coaches, and interventionists to work on that impact the students were forced to deal with during this epidemic. Section 3, support staff. Again, we have 5 positions, ABA, or behavior specialist, in the Bright program. That is something to the counseling department, where they, I believe they have a consultant who will help with, support them with meeting the needs of the students. And those are the largest components. Again, the professional salaries were the largest component in this grant. As we, the very end of this one, page 4, you can see we have some equipment that we've got into this budget, where the air handler will be finishing off the Page Hilltop seam loop conversion and putting in air handling units in the cafeteria. Centralized security system for all the buildings, all 4 buildings to be on, and also a student passenger vehicle, 14-passenger microbus, which we have ordered, and it's due late January. We should have that late January. And there's a total for that ESSER 3 grant of 4.1. So we just wanted to make sure that you were aware of what's in them. If anybody asked you, you know what's in those grants and what we're doing with it, and a lot of it is staffing. And we'll continue to talk about those positions with the department heads and the principals of how we line those positions up in each of the buildings, where the need is. Any questions on the ESSER grants?
Anyone? Joyce, I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
No, I don't have a question. I'm sorry I didn't
Oh, that's all
asleep
right.
over here.
So the positions that you mentioned there, it was kind of fast, but I caught some of them. So the thing is that while it's sponsored by the grant, and I noticed on one of them it said something like a 2-year position or something like that. Don't all those positions have to be limited to the grant ending, to the limit of the grant money?
They do.
Right.
Yes.
They do, or accrued or paid before the ending duration of the grant, yes. So for ESSER 2, that's next June, or this June, coming up in 2022. But for the ESSER 3, those positions can be funded through September of 2024.
So 2022 or 2024. And so the clarity to have recognized that those positions are basically almost a temporary grant position. And when the grant's gone,
Yes.
the position could be gone. And is that,
Correct.
I mean, I think
A
that's,
fiscal cliff.
I think that's very, very important that that be repeated as many times as possible. So, like I just had an employee this fall who said, "Oh, I thought I was full-time, I was gonna stay all year."
Well,
No.
that will be clear in job postings
Yeah, but also
And if you
to-
notice what the positions are, they really are to
Right.
deal with
No,
mental
I know,
health and
but I
trauma.
mean, repeating that over and over, I think is extremely
Well, in
important.
the educational world, this is what people know. I mean, it's not just here, it's everywhere. So,
But you're not just dealing with the educational world, so that's the problem. No, I mean, so, yes, this is great, and it's tricky as hell.
It is.
Is there any advancing legislation? I mean, when you take a look at the pool at the workforce, it's not a great picture when you're trying to even get permanent people. And you're trying to get these kind of people, it's kind of tough. Is there any movement with our legislative branches to try to help people who are professional retirees? Sometimes in school systems, people retire young, relatively. You know, and are out there, but you know, they pay a big penalty if you're a superintendent or if you're a chief of police, you can double dip, no problem, that's allowed.
Yeah.
Is there a way that we could talk to our legislative body and try to get something that would say, hey, look, you know, we can do something hold harmless for people who already have 30 years experience in the field, who like, you know, I could take a couple of years if the finances work out okay, if I don't get slammed on my pension, if I don't have to pay taxes for the roof. If we're trying to recover from what we went through, the best way to do it is with people who know what they're doing. But you have to make it economically feasible for them to do it. But when this is already in a grant status, I would think that from a legislative standpoint, it would be a pretty easy push to roll this thing through. But I think that push has to happen somewhere because, I mean, all these schools are gonna be looking for all these same things. And putting somebody in there who doesn't have the experience or talent or is not gonna help. It's not gonna meet the intent of the grant.
That's a great point. Actually, the state has taken a very small step, and they've increased the amount of money that a retiree can make, but not significantly.
Right.
Not to the point where they could work a full-time job. There are potential waivers that we can apply for, but those are mostly for, you're correct, administrative jobs, principals, assistant principals. However, MASS, the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, is lobbying for some of this currently, and I don't think it ever hurts to ask your local representatives to lobby for that, because it's going to save us money with the on-ramp of them too, right? Because when we hire these new positions, it's not only the cost of the salary, it's the cost of getting them up to speed of what we need them to do, which in some ways is worse, right? And if we can have a retiree that can hit the ground running, that's going to save us not only money, but it's also going to help the students more. I think that's a great idea. I don't know exactly where they are with that, but I can certainly ask for an update and find out what the legislation is exactly titled and if there's a docket.
The Department of Education is granting emergency certifications, which can be good and could be bad. So if you have somebody that's, for example, been in a paraprofessional position that just hasn't had the means to go through all the hoops to get certified, but it has been really well trained to work with students and understands, you know, the school system and the curriculum, and that's a really great thing. But then you could also have people that are just clicking all the boxes, so now they have certification and everything. So it'll be,
That is happening. That won't help a retiree who can only earn 20% of their pay.
yeah.
The other part of that is that the on-ramp for those people is typically pretty expensive to catch them up to speed, depending.
Yeah.
If it's a kindergarten paraprofessional who's been a kindergarten paraprofessional for years working in kindergarten and just has not wanted to apply for certification or take the teacher's test, that, you know, certainly they could step into that job and probably do an excellent job. The other part of it, in Massachusetts, for instance, it's difficult because we don't really take a license from many other states. You can get a one-year waiver if you have a professional license in a state and have worked 3 years, but within that 1 year, you have to get the Massachusetts license. So we really, there's a teacher shortage. It's becoming even greater as we sit here, and then we are very picky about who we will take from other parts of the country to come and teach in Massachusetts, even with master's degrees and doctorates. If they don't have that license, we, at times, our hands are tied. And that goes right back at a separate issue, but we talked about this. It's also increases the equity issue. There are certainly wonderful candidates of color who we would love to hire, and they're certified in other states, but we can't take it.
Right.
So this is a big problem, and I hope that they use this opportunity to address it. But
I think overall, not that I don't think there's any chance with the MASC proposals, but they kind of bang the drum a lot every year for a bunch of different stuff, you know, on all sorts of stuff. And I think maybe, you know, their track records are not so good in getting stuff through. I think if you have a superintendent's fraternity group, that sort of stuff, I think something like that would carry more weight. And I think you could put something cogent together that people would listen to. Because all this money came because we know we went backwards under the you know, exceptional place that we find ourselves due to this. And the best way out is to get experienced people, but you have to make it economically viable for them to do it. And if you do that, you can bring it back in, and you can actually meet what the grant was intended for to begin with. And I think if we're banking on MASC, then I think you're not gonna get what you need. I think if the superintendents across the state, because they're all gonna be faced with the exact same thing, came together and put something together, I think that would carry a great deal of weight.
So I said, let me clarify, it's MASS.
That's what you
He
said.
said MASS.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
their track record, I believe, is a bit better. They have a direct line to
Good.
the commissioner.
If you could find out if there is any pending legislation like that, and
Yeah.
then we could, send that along to our own
Yeah.
legislative representatives, to encourage them to support whatever bill number it is or whatever, that might be something we could do.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I looked this up the other day, like who was in charge of the educational committee and stuff, and not the commissioner, but the legislators. And I can't remember who it is. It's no
It
one
was
from around here, I
Sonia-
think it's from
wasn't it
Western
Sonia
Mass.
Chang Diaz or something, the one that's running for governor? Wasn't she the senator in charge of the education committee at
Was she?
one point?
Yes.
I don't know, I could be wrong.
Did you know that? I'm not sure.
I can't remember, I just
I'll
can't
look it
remember the
up.
name, thanks.
Any other questions on the ESSER funds?
So when do we have to, I'm sure we do, have to send like an application, or what kind of report do we have to give
We
on
have
these funds?
applied and been awarded both grants already.
Mhm.
And there certainly is regular reporting that we have to do as far as what has been used and what updates to the budget. So it would be a typical grant, same as Chapter 70, or very similar.
So the other grants that we have that are ongoing, but this is much more complex because of the double asterisk that you have to make, that this is a 2-year, 1 year, yada, 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 right?
Mhm.
Okay.
We've had, I mean, our other grants that we apply for, like the traditional ESSA grants, the Every Student Succeeds Acts grant, Title I, Title IIA, Title III, Title IV, those are multi-year designation grants. They're typically only 18 months long. These grants are multi-year designation as well, but they're 2 and 3 years long.
And they're not going to be reinforced, they're not going to be restated. This is a one-time, one and done, I would guess.
That's what it is. I mean, that's what they said
Right now,
about the
that's
first
what it
ESSER
is.
grant. Right,
Yeah.
but they've given us now 2 more since.
Right, based on if, we don't know. There
Right.
could be as much need or greater need in 2 years, and there could be something. We're certainly not planning for that, but if there is that would be great. There is the new funding formula that is really upping the budgets for some of the gateway cities. I know that they are planning on using those funds to keep some of these positions on. But as of right now, there's nothing that we are aware of for additional grants to keep these positions.
I love seeing the non-instructional equipment we were able to include as part of this grant, and things that we have been on our wish list. So it's nice that it worked out that they've been able to be included and approved.
There's significant upgrades that we're going to be able to make for this district that is going to have direct impact on students and parents. And they're really our customer service, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. So thank you to whoever
Thank you, Bill.
put this together and continues to work on it. Thank you, Bill.
Oh, yes,
You still there, Bill?
I'm still here.
All right.
Of course, we wanted you to have those, so you know what's in there, and like I said, if there's any questions, you can give them an explanation. I mean, it's all right there.
It is. Thank you.
That's good.
But we still have to know what we're talking about. All right, so we're going to move on then, if there's nothing else with this, to the fiscal year 23 budget discussion. Dr. Renda and Mr. Plunkett, please.
Sure, so I'm going to
Well,
review, go ahead.
There is one more thing. I'm sorry, Adam. We do have the budget timeline that Adam went over, but also in your 9B, your agenda item 9B, there's the 2 slides that we prepared for the budget discussion. The second one is, the first one's a timeline. The second one is the needs assessments that we did get into the budget after meeting with the principals and the department heads. So during the budget building process, we've added in funding for salary increases, health insurance, utilities, and then we really don't have much wiggle room after that. We have to be very cognizant of the bottom line for the towns and the tax levy limit. So it was a really good process. We didn't get a lot of stuff in, but people didn't really ask for things. These are non-personnel. They still do want to talk about personnel, and we're going to incorporate that with the ESSER grant positions and have further discussions with the department heads. But these are the items that we did get into the general fund. We had $26,000 for increased budget for Eureka, which is math, I believe, and then the phonics program for grade 3. Renew Lexia for 3 years, the literacy program, $7,600, and SNAP, the software for SNAP, which is for our nursing. All the nursing information has to go into SNAP. We've allowed for that increase as well in the general fund. The middle school, scrolling down to the middle school, they've asked for radios, and that's something that we really do want to take care of with this budget. So we've got $2,700, just over $2,700 in there for radios for the middle school. That'll get them about 5 radios. Those radios are very expensive, but Jen Bigelow, the SRO for the district or for the Air campus, has reached out to Beltronics, trying to get that final connection with public safety, so we can have a direct connection and they can monitor our channels with our new digital radios. And then PE and wellness at the high school, they're adding some new equipment for Project Adventure, and there's also a RAD program, which I'm not too familiar with, but I believe that involves readiness too, and with the community coming in and helping teenagers or students be ready for any kind of conflict, physical or non-physical, de-escalation. So what I tried to do was we tried to identify items that maybe we couldn't get them in the general budget, but we could get them in the capital. So you see the second column, we have cultural arts. Paige Hilltop is looking for stage curtains, middle school security cameras. We already had that on our capital list, so that might be something we would come to the school committee and ask for. Definitely we want to do something like the cameras at the middle school out of the capital budget, and as well as the facilities request for another tractor. The equipment's getting older, falling apart, and we really do need to upgrade as we go along. And that's really a capital item. You know, we're expecting to get 5 years out of it or more, so that would be an appropriate purchase out of the capital. Athletics asked for some new uniforms for football and cross country. We really don't have it in the budget to replenish uniforms every year, but we could do that out of the revolving funds, the revolving athletic funds, which is based on the user fees and gates. So, and the other program that Mr. Kendall wanted to bring forth with intramurals for elementary, and we felt that that was a worthy program that we would like to see take place as well. So we need a little seed money for coaching and t-shirts and things like that. And then the last column was student activity. Laura White had asked about seed money for their school store and also their snack pack or snack food fund program. So that would be something we could use directly from the student activities, because those monies were raised by students for students and is directly going to them through the store and the snack pack program. So it was a total of $133,000 worth of items. 42.5 was in the general fund, the rest is spread across those other funds. And just keep in mind, this is non-personnel, and we will be talking personnel with the principals and the department heads as we go through the budget process.
Thank you, Bill. Does anyone have any questions for Bill based on this? All right. So I'm assuming that was the budget discussion, item B?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So if, again, if there's no questions for Bill, I will thank Bill for joining us virtually, and we'll move on. Actually, you're still on, Mr. Plunkett, for something in item 10. So we're going to move on to the policy review. Item A is the proposed revisions to policy BEDH, public participation at school committee meetings.
But we're going to do the timeline on the budget?
The timeline was gone over in the superintendent's
Oh, okay.
report. I'm happy to
No,
go over
that's
it.
okay. Oh, that got you rattled off so fast.
All right, so I guess, Dr. Renda, you have this third read.
Okay, this is the third read for the public comment at school committee policy. We did make a change to not call it public participation, but public comment. The next change was to add in the first sentence that all regular and special meetings of the Air Shirley Regional School Committee are business meetings of the school committee and shall be open to the public. The change there is adding our business meetings of the committee and. We eliminated on the second paragraph, last sentence, the sentence reads, in addition, the committee would like an opportunity to hear public comment. We struck through the wishes and ideas of the. Moving further down, under number 1, we changed participation to comment. We added the limit to 30 minutes. We struck out determined by the chairman. We added all speakers are encouraged to present their remarks in a respectful manner. Under number 2, we added up to 3 minutes instead of just saying 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. And we changed chairman to chairperson. Under 3, we added speakers must begin their remarks by stating their name. We struck out address of residence, added city and town and affiliation to the district. Under 4, we struck meeting, so it's a school committee agenda for that evening. Under 5, we struck out chairman and changed it to chairperson. Under 6, we struck out chairman and changed it to chairperson. And then under number 8, we struck out committee and changed that to chair, and we struck out at an appropriate time. So that reads, written comments longer than 3 minutes may be presented to the chair before or after the meeting for the school committee members' review and consideration.
That's good. All right, so I will, does anyone have anything? Jim?
Yeah, I think everything that's written is fine. I just look for discussion. I'd like to add to line 4, or alternately, suggestions for consideration by the school committee on future meetings will be accepted. In case somebody has some particular topic they like that, they'd be able to present it to us. And if the superintendent and the chair feel that they should add it to the agenda for a future meeting, they can.
No, Mrs. Quinty, I believe you made that suggestion before, and that should have been in there.
But outside of that, I think everything else is fine.
Joyce?
So on what Jim just said there, would you repeat that, Jim, as to what you think?
Can you just repeat what you added?
That topics
Yeah.
can be, isn't that normally done through the superintendent's office? It wouldn't be done at the opening of the meeting?
No,
or
but what
during-
he's
or
saying-
during-
For public comment.
Or during the public comment session, necessarily.
Can you just read the sentence, Jim?
Sure. I'll read the whole thing. Topics for discussion must be limited to those items listed on the school committee agenda for that evening, or alternately, suggestions for consideration by the school committee on future meetings will be accepted. So they can talk about, during the public comment session of our meeting, they can talk about anything they want on the agenda, and if there's something else that they would like the school committee to take up, they could make that suggestion to the school committee, and then the chair or the superintendent could decide to add it at a future meeting if they so felt it was warranted.
But is that open for discussion then, the way you're stating it? I mean, they could bring up anything they want.
But we
And it
can't
has
discuss
nothing
it,
to do
they
with
can
the
just.
business meeting that's going on.
No,
There,
but they-
it's not, yeah, he's saying it's not gonna be a topic that's brought up for discussion, it's just merely a topic for a future agenda item
To be
to be
considered.
considered. That they can raise a topic that they would like to have considered for
No, I
a
understand,
future.
it's just that it's, no, I understand that thoroughly, but the temptation to speak to that, like, yes, we're gonna do that, no, we're not gonna do that, it just opens to having a back and forth that maybe you don't want to get into.
Yeah, I think it would, our chairperson, it's on Michelle or whoever's in that seat in the future to
Simply say thank you,
simply say,
everyone.
thank you for your suggestion.
Well
I think
taken into consideration.
similarly with any topic that, just because it's on the agenda, the public comment might not be appropriate to respond to. I think the committee needs to have the judgment to know when and how to engage with any
If you don't really,
comments.
you're simply listening at this point, you're not responding.
Precisely. So I think even if it's relevant to the agenda that day or a proposal for a future topic, the purpose is comment, not participation or engagement, and it's on us as a body or future versions of this body to have the judgment to be mindful of that expectation.
I actually kind of like the suggestion in the sense that there are plenty of parents that don't know
What's on it.
how to go about getting a topic on the agenda or
Mm-hmm.
how to bring about something for discussion. So having that language, I mean, they'd have to read the policy to know, but at least it allows for that, them to know that it is possible to make suggestions and that would be, considered. But I'll leave it up to everybody if you want to amend the sentence to reflect Jim's language. But I think we did talk about it before.
That is not the first time that came up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if everyone's in agreement, we could just make that change and approve the policy.
Do you want to make a motion, Jim?
I make a motion that I'll make a motion that we amend line item 4, what I previously read.
Second the motion.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Okay. So then, can we then vote to approve the policy with that amendment?
Right. I make a motion that we approve the policy before us as amended.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. So then we're going to go on to proposed revision to policy DGA, authorized signatures, Mr. Plunkett, for our second read.
Okay. DGA, we made a couple changes. The new is in red. The school committee may designate any one of its members for the purposes of signing payroll warrants and accounts payable warrants to allow for the release of checks, provided, however, that the member shall make available to the board at its next meeting a record of such actions. This provision shall not limit the responsibility of each member of the board in the event of a non-compliance with this section. And then we struck out what the old language, and we're keeping picks up again as required by Chapter 71, Section 16A. The superintendent must approve payroll and bill warrants. Director of Finance is authorized to review bills and payrolls as required by Chapter 41, Section 52, and Chapter 71, 16A. The treasurer and the assistant treasurer are authorized to pay bills as required by Chapter 41, Sections 35 and 109A, and Chapter 71, Section 16A. I got the new language directly from the updated Chapter 71, and it was also echoed in the Modernization Act 2016, I believe. So we referenced those, that one new section and the others that were already in there. So didn't really have to change much here on this one, but it does give the board the flexibility to have one person go down, and we can release checks with just one signature, plus the superintendents and myself. And then they would report back at the next meeting of how they, reviewing the bills and the payrolls, and probably just going over the warrant memo would suffice.
Perfect. Anyone, questions or comments, or ready to roll? If there's none, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the changes to file DGA.
I'll make a motion that we accept the
DGA is hard
changes
to
to DGA authorized signatures.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right.
So now we have to pick someone.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
So,
Got it.
thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do you guys want to pick someone tonight? So moving forward, we'll have
Yeah,
that
because
person
that
in place?
pile today was just like,
Well,
I
it's
feel
also
ter-
Christmas,
No, this has been going on for a while, and
Yeah.
it's so hard. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've come and been like banging on a window for a custodian to let me in so I can go and sign things.
Oh,
So,
I've had the office unlocked for me.
yeah, I mean, is there anyone here that has the flexibility to come during the Michelle?
Yeah, I know, Joyce, you love it, so I'm not going to take it away if
No,
you
I-
think.
it's really hard, because like Michelle has appointments, and sometimes, some weeks, it's just going to be, is it every other week?
I just wait for
Is
the
it
email
every-
and then
we're
leave it
just-
unread until I
She's now sending
sign.
us an email, which is very helpful, but I didn't get one.
An
Recently.
email came with the many warrants was the email.
Yeah. But I hadn't gotten an email before that, so that's
No,
why I was
I
like,
think it may have been, just the holidays threw everything up, but, if I do, it was like Thursday mornings, I can go there. So, but it's all dependent if someone doesn't call me in sick at 9 o'clock and tells me they're not coming, and then I can't do that.
Can
Yeah,
we,
I was just
can we
gonna say.
have like a person and then the alternate? Are you allowed to do that, or does it have to be?
Anybody can sign it. I mean, don't you need one signature?
just-
It says you need
It's
one
supposed to be
signature.
a
Does it say
designated, a designated member.
yeah, Bill, do you know if it has to be the same member every time?
You can designate as many times as you want and have an alternate.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's
so
do
let's
that.
do that.
Yeah.
So we'll have a phone change, that's all.
Do you want to be the designee and then I can be the alternate?
So Bill, is it basically payroll is every other week?
Yeah, it's every week because one's payroll, then the next week is payables.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, when I get there, it's always 2, so that's fine.
Well, yeah, I think that,
And does Thursday work?
Yes.
Okay. You want to have a telephone chain or whatever? Or you going like?
So are
over
you
there?
saying you'll be able to commit to coming in Thursday mornings?
At the moment, if no one
Okay.
calls in sick
And
and 3
then-
people don't quit on Wednesday.
okay,
I'm
so
off.
if
then
that
if that
happens,
happens,
then you
reach
let
out
me
to-
know.
I'm not
reach
an
out to
independent
Michelle.
person.
You let me know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
I
we
think
have
that's-
designated Joyce with me as the alternate, and we'll proceed on that, and then we can always change it if that's not working.
And then Chris is doing the rest of it.
I'm happy to be third.
Chris and I are the alternates, how about that?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Because we're all listed on those, so theoretically, anybody could sign.
Well, and I would ask, Bill, I don't know if you're still on, but if you are, I would ask that Lisa still send us all the emails so that we know that they're there. If anyone wants to, even though they're not the designee, if they want to stop by and see them, I'd like it to at least people know that they can do that. Obviously, they'll just be there for the period of time that, she needs them there until someone signs, but it would be good for everyone to know that they're there.
All right, so continue to send them to all the members?
Yeah, and then we'll know, Joyce will know that
That's
she's the one
click
going
of the
in.
computer, so it's no big deal, right?
But at
Right.
least if, you know, for whatever reason Cheryl decides she wants to go see something in the bills, she can stop by and check
My
out.
favorite.
I'll call you up,
Numbers, I
Michelle,
love
get
them.
in here, you gotta see this.
Because we all are ultimately responsible for it, so we should all have the opportunity to see it, even though our signature is not required.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the law.
Okay, yeah, we'll keep sending the emails.
Thank you. Okay, so that's done. So, moving on to chairperson's notes. I'm just gonna briefly touch on the fields. Mr. Christie talked about it earlier when he talked about, how awesome the renderings look, and they're still, we met yesterday, via Zoom. They're working on the final plans, the final, drawings are being done so that it will be ready to go out to bid on January 25th. They're expecting the bids to be back by, I believe, February 15th, and then we are going to meet as a fields committee on the 15th to review. And then on the 16th of February, we'll have a presentation to the school committee of the fields and the recommended bidder, who they recommend we award the bid to. So we'll have that, school committee can see the final plans and hear about who the award winner is on the 16th. So you're gonna love it. And what's been really great, I think, is that Mr. Norton has been attending the meetings and has been really involved in the process. He has helped design the entryway, which gives me goosebumps just to think about it. It's beautiful. And he's really happy with it. And it's gonna be stunning. So, coming, and we're gonna hear all about it on the 16th. And so then I am going to move on. Are there any topics for discussion not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of this meeting?
The only thing that I would say is I would like to thank the entire staff for really pulling together and making last week work. It was a very difficult week for everyone in the Commonwealth and really in the country coming back from break. People really stepped up and did what they had to do to get through that week, and it was noticed and appreciated.
Yeah, well, not just that week. Every
Not just that week,
you know.
especially last week.
Especially last week, but
This week has been a close second. It's only Tuesday.
oh God, it is only Tuesday. But you know, I just can't say it enough as a parent, that everyone in these buildings has been, you know, working so hard to make it you know, this year as good as it can be. So I can't say thank you enough to everyone in the school district. Teachers, staff, administration, everyone. Anything else, anyone? Before we move on to communications with Ms. Simmons.
Okay, so don't look at the first thing, because that's already passed and didn't happen.
But it is January the 11th.
Yes, it was, January 11th today, school committee meeting. Tomorrow, January 12th, is a 90-minute early release. There will be lunch served, and the high school and middle school are dismissed at 12:50, and the elementary school's at 1:45. There's no school this coming Monday, January 17th, for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Wednesday, January 19th, is a half a day of school for grades 9 through 12, hello. Lunch is not served, and dismissal time is at 11:20. I can't speak tonight. Wednesday, January 19th, is also a school committee meeting at 6:30 at the library in the middle school. And Thursday, January 20th, is a half a day of school for grades 9 through 12. Lunch will not be served. Dismissal time at 11:20. Thursday, January 21st, is a half a day of school for grades 9 through 12. Lunch is not served. Dismissal time at 11:20. Half a day of school for grades preschool through 8 and professional development for teachers. no lunch again. Dismissal time for the middle school at 11:20 and the elementary schools at 12:15. Quarter 2 already is ending for grades 9 through 12 on Friday, January 21st, so half-year point. And Monday, January 30th, the report cards are issued for grades 9 through 12 here at the high school. And that should be it.
Great. All right. Joyce, are you raising your hand?
If I might, Mr. Cleary, what is the professional development focus going to be on the 21st?
Secondary folks will be on universal design for learning. We have which has been a year-long series, so that'll continue into March. We have another year-long series that's on understanding behavior that's going to all of our paraprofessionals and in K to 5, as well as grades 6 through 12, in addition to our special educators and our sub-separate programs. And then we have a smorgasbord of other things for our elementary staff, our teaching staff, largely focused on supporting their common planning time work, which will be kind of more like kind of what we're doing for kids, providing just-in-time support. So we're trying to use our professional development for elementary to provide just-in-time support for elementary teachers too.
Good. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Jim, sorry.
Yeah, but it's my place to assign homework to, just one suggestion. I watched a Netflix documentary, and I think it would be, I remember way back we had, I think when Paula Sullivan was retired, she had everybody in the district read the Hunger Games.
Yep.
So everybody would have a kind of like a base of operations thing. I watched a documentary called The Social Dilemma.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, everybody sort of understands how it works, but until you see how the business model was developed and how social media accounts actually happen, and the amount that they control and the way that they're scripted and where it's headed, I think it's difficult. And although we're not in charge of the world, you have to kind of do whatever you can to understand the environment that some of the kids are placed in, especially in elementary and middle school and in high school applications as well. So if anybody has the opportunity to watch that, I think it will be, there are a number of moments there that I think were poignant as understating what's actually happening, and the people that are, I mean, you always have to go to the source, and the people that are the key players in it are the people who developed a lot of the business and psychological models associated with how it all operates. So if you have the opportunity to watch that, I think it will be, I don't think there's anybody in here that understood everything that much. I thought I had a pretty good handle, and then it's a lot deeper than I thought. So not that that would spur us to do a policy. We may or may not elect to do anything because we're just a part of the card. But I think that would give us a good idea of what many of the kids have to face.
Is that the one on Facebook? About Facebook?
And
just social media.
And everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my daughter was a senior last year, and she watched it with a group here, or at least part of it. I want to say it was part of a Panther block or something. I can't remember exactly, but it was eye-opening. Certainly it's eye-opening for parents. I've seen it a few times and have passed it on to as many people as I know. But for the kids to really see those three little men, you have to watch it, three little guys controlling their thinking, and they didn't know it was happening. And my daughter came home like, wow, you know, this is crazy. And not that it has stopped her from picking up her phone, but there's kind of reasons behind what is happening, and yeah, it's amazing, Jim. I couldn't agree more, and it's being brought into schools more and more, I think.
Well, the principles that are used to design social media are now in every application that has an online presence for students or a digital presence for students. They are gamifying learning, and in some cases it's motivating students to want to learn, but it can have something to be mindful of as we think about the ways we're using technology with students, the way we're educating students, parents, and educators to be mindful with technology. It's certainly something for everyone to be mindful of.
To that point, Jim, that was a really cool year that we did the Hunger Game. Everyone read the
Yeah.
book, and then they went to see the movie at the high school. It was really, really cool. Anyway, okay, thanks, Jim, for the suggestion. That's called The Social Dilemma. Okay. And where'd you see it? Netflix?
Netflix.
Okay. All right. So then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
We have executive session.
No. Anyone?
Motion to
Do you want to be here? Okay. So any,
8:44.
anyone seconding?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone. It's 8:44. We're adjourned.